Hello everyone, Sandi here. Today we are going to do a VR to Lisa and Peggy and their extraordinary, lovely hashtag 21 tarot questions. I absolutely loved this tag. I loved Lisa's video and I adore all the questions that you guys came up with together in her live. And it's going to be difficult for me to keep this brief because you know how I like to babble on about things. So, yeah, I'm surrounded by decks. I have 21 prompts to get through. I will try to be brief, but like I said, this might be a long one. So, buckle up and grab a coffee, tea, whatever. It might be a long one. Right, the first prompt is: what is the deck they'll have to pry out of your cold, dead hands? Okay, so this one was very difficult for me. And since I was trying to keep it at just one, I went for my Victorian Fairy Tarot. You've seen this before if you've been on my channel for any length of time. Like if you've watched any of my videos, really. I adore this deck. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's my very first out-of-print deck that I acquired. It is, however, not going to be out of print for very long because apparently it's coming back into print, or so I hear. So that's going to be very exciting. This deck earns this spot in my collection because the moment it arrived and I got my hands on it, I felt this very strong connection to this deck. It's got to do with, I don't know, childhood memories. It's got to do with, you know, the like fairy tale-esque beautiful artwork. It's got to do with the way it feels in my hands. It's got to do with how it smells. Yes, or not smells. Well, yeah, it smells nice. It's got a very, very nice scent, is what I'm trying to say. And this scent, it just does something to me. I don't know what it is. I can't place it. It just brings me to a very calm and comforted place within myself. So whenever I use this deck, I just feel, I don't know, held and comforted, and like the deck is here to help me and guide me and to do so while being gentle with me. I don't know. It doesn't pull any punches. It's very, very, it calls me out on stuff, definitely. But it's also probably got this very special part in my collection because the very first tarot reading anybody did for me was Krista, and she used this deck. She chose this deck intuitively for me. I had never even seen or heard about this deck before, and I wasn't particularly into fairies either. She just kind of felt like this is the deck that has something to say to Sandi, and boy was she right. The reading that she did for me that day still kind of blows me away when I think about it. And yeah, so this deck has so many things going for it, and and lots of people has contributed to it being special. Nonetheless, none other as well than the creator of this deck, Linnea Weatherstone. She's a beautiful, beautiful person who's taken the time to comment on several of my videos, and that has also made me bond even more with this deck, to be honest, because it's a very, very special deck in my collection, and you will have to pry it from my cold dead hands. I will never ever give this deck up. So yeah. Prompt number 2. What is your guilty pleasure deck? Well, this one was also difficult because I feel like I don't have any guilty pleasures. Like, I try to embrace all of my pleasures and not feel guilt about them. It's not very easy most of the time, but I do have a couple of decks that I hesitated to buy, mainly because of what I've heard about the creator, or because they are kind of, I don't know, sickly sweet, or like they... How am I supposed to say this without sounding weird? What I'm trying to say is, I have 2 decks. Sorry, I'm already cheating. But basically, I chose the Animal Tarot cards by Doreen Virtue and Bradley Valentine, and the Spirit Animal Oracle deck, now by Colette and Baron Reed and Jenna Della Grottaglia. You know that I adore this deck. It's one of my all-time favorite oracles. I've used it the most, I've had it the longest, so that's probably why. And I recently acquired this. I think it's slightly out of print, but basically what I'm trying to say here is that we all, or most people in the community, know about Doreen Virtue and all the drama that happened within that. And then also we have Colette Baron Reed, who has been discussed a little bit before as well. I won't go into details around any of this. But what these decks have in common is that, well, let's start with the Spirit Animal Oracle. I absolutely adore this guidebook. The guidebook is fantastic, and it's what makes this deck so good. I absolutely adore it. The artwork is also very, very pretty. I'm not gonna lie, I really love the artwork as well. I chose this one though because I think that this deck gets a bit of a bad rap sometimes. Bad rep. I don't know how to say that. It's got a bit of bad, like some people seem reputation, bad rep. That's it. Sorry. It's got a bit of a bad reputation for some reason. I feel that some people kind of tend to look down on this deck because it's a bit cutesy, and or maybe they don't quite know the deck for what it is. I look at the artwork and I think, oh, this is, pretty and all, but where's the depth, kind of thing. But really, once you start using this deck and you read the guidebook, it's brought me so much to think about, to chew on, to feel comforted by. And we all use tarot and oracle differently. I use tarot and oracle for a lot of shadow work, sure. But to me, shadow work also tends to be kind of comforting. It's a difficult thing to explain in this video. I don't want it to become too long. I might do a separate video on that. But basically, this deck is so much more than meets the eye, in my opinion, and that's why I don't really feel guilty about loving this deck. It's a pleasure to use it. It's a pleasure to have it. I don't feel guilty, but I feel like I maybe should feel guilty about it, or I could feel guilty about it if I cared what other people think. I suppose. You understand what I mean? I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just basically saying, yes, it's cutesy. Yes, it's got all these feathers and stuff on it, and it's a little bit extra. And it might be considered, super like woo woo and weird, but I don't know. This deck works, in my opinion. Then we have the Doreen Virtue deck. This is my one and only Doreen Virtue deck. And I hesitated in getting it, to be honest. Because it's... Yes, okay, I've got my preconceived notions about Doreen Virtue as well. So, but because of that as well, I decided to give it a chance because I don't like to give in to my, preconceived notions and being, judging anything before I know it. So I decided to get this deck because I am absolutely in love with this artwork. It's absolutely gorgeous. Look at this Empress Rabbit. Oh, she's everything. And yes, Doreen Virtue is a bit too... Cutesy is not the word, because cute I love. I don't know if smarmy is the right word either. I have a difficult time finding the word. It's like too godly. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like too predictive. Like the guidebook and the text on the cards can be a little bit too patronizing, a little bit too sticky. I don't know, sticky sweet. Kind of like how it's, yeah, and here also like talking about God loves you and always has. That kind of thing gives me the ick, So it's... And that's why I kind of feel guilty, or not. It's a guilty pleasure because I like the deck, but at the same time, I don't really, I don't agree with Doreen Virtue or her values or anything like that. So it kind of that's why this is probably the deck I should have just picked and not put in the spirit animal oracle at all. But like I said, absolutely adore the artwork, and I'm trying to figure out how to use this deck in a way that it aligns with me, because this artwork, anyway, so I suppose the deck that I will be choosing for my guilty pleasure deck is the Animal Tarot Cards by Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine. All right, so the third prompt is, what's the deck you wish existed? What deck do you wish existed? Well, I have quite a few of them actually, and some of them I'm trying to make myself, but the one that I would like to see more of is probably like a Scandinavian folklore deck that's not a Viking deck. Yeah, because it feels like all the representation that comes from the Nordic countries really is always a Viking deck. Or we also have, the Kalevala, the Fennica Mythologica Fenica deck, but that's also kind of not the same thing either. It's got some Scandi folklore in it, but I would like one that just completely focuses on the Nordic Scandi folklore, with trolls and elves and pixies and house gnomes, and like I guess in Ireland they would be called brownies, but here they have a very specific a specific, like, even in my day and age, like when I grew up, people were talking about the house gnome that lived in our house, kind of thing. And the traditions of leaving like a little bit of porridge out on the doorstep for the house gnome on Christmas, and things like that. It's kind of like, it feels that's very lacking. I mean, I know there's the John Bower Tarot, and that's a gorgeous, gorgeous deck. I just feel like it's still not what I'm after. I want to read about all the forest creatures in our folklore that like, or the dream creature that comes and gives you nightmares in the night, and things like that, and folklore that predates the Christian, like that is part of the Christianization but also predates it. Like I don't want all of the Christian superstition folklore necessarily, but I don't know, there's lots and lots to unpack there. So, but a Scandinavian folklore, Nordic folklore, definitely. Deck, oracle, whatever. If that's something anybody would like to do, please let me know. All right. What deck would you give to a new reader is the fourth prompt. Well, I would give any deck that excites them, to be honest. Or any deck that has a really good guidebook. From my collection, I chose the Anna K Tarot because the guidebook is very down to earth and comprehensive, and kind of gives a more relatable stance to the tarot, and the artwork is relatable, and the deck is quite cheap, especially like the mass market version, at least. If the person didn't feel drawn to the artwork at all, which I can understand, it's a little bit different, then I would just, check with them what kind of artwork resonates with them and go from there, I suppose. If it wasn't this deck, then probably one of the like classic RWS decks, along with a good, general guidebook. I don't know. It's a difficult thing because it's the right tarot deck might make or break a prolonged interest in tarot, I feel. So if you get the wrong deck in the beginning and you're not the kind of person who wants to shell out a bunch of money on a lot of different decks in the beginning before you even know if this is going to be something that you like to do, then getting the wrong deck, or a deck that doesn't resonate with you or that you don't feel excited about, or getting a guidebook that makes you feel iffy or icky, might just make you think that this interest is not for you. And it might not be. But I also feel like tarot could be for everyone. or anyone, to be honest. It's just about the approach you take and how you choose to use the cards. So yeah. But I think that the Anna K, for the person who wants to learn tarot, the Anna K is a really good starting point because it's down to earth, it's relatable, it's approachable, it's, attainable because you can find it mass market. And I think the guidebook is really good. So that was the deck I'd like to give to a new reader. Number 5, what deck do you want to get along with, but it just never clicked? Oh, I had a difficult time choosing this one because I feel that the decks I haven't clicked with yet, I haven't worked with enough. But the one that I'm going to choose for this is the Wild Unknown Tarot. I don't know why I'm having such a difficult time getting into this deck because I really like the artwork a lot. But there is just something that's just not working out, and I don't know what it is. I will admit I probably have not given this enough time of day. I feel like I would probably really love this deck if I sat down and really went at it. But to be honest, there are so many decks in my collection that I love and that just simply excites me more. And I think that's why this deck hasn't seen much use after I tried for a while and it just never clicked. I felt like I'm ignoring a bunch of the decks that I'm really excited about working with, and I think that's what we need to remember here. We don't need to click with every deck. And I feel like, yes, I'm sure this deck is very cool and very deep and, gives the most kick-ass readings. But at the same time, there are other decks in my collection, like I said, that just excites me more. So those are the ones I will be reaching for. So yeah, the Wild Unknown is a deck I haven't really clicked with, no matter how much I've tried. Even though I could probably, like I said, try even more. But at the same time, why force a relationship, We'll see. I'm not ready to let it go yet, but there it is. The 6th prompt. What deck do you only keep for the art? Well, to be honest, I couldn't come up with a single one. I feel that I keep all of my decks for all kinds of reasons. Like, there's not just the one reason, which is because of the art. I always have a intention or a urge to get to know the deck or work with it, So there is, that I haven't bought a single deck that I've only intended to buy for the art or that has turned out to be kept just for the art. There might be decks that I have that I still haven't, that I love the artwork of, but that I still haven't worked much with. But I'm getting to the point in my journey at the moment where I'm realizing that I need to have a slower approach to things in order to fully take in the lessons that these cards are trying to give me, or that are available through the interpretation of these cards. And that means that I'm going to be a lot slower in my, usage of my cards as well. And that means that there are going to be decks sitting on my shelf, unused, waiting for me to get to them. And that doesn't mean that I'm not excited by them or that I am not, that I have any regrets of getting them. It's just a simple matter of time. Having time to get to them. So yeah, I'm boring and saying here that I keep all my decks for the art, but I also keep none of them just for the art. I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyway, there it is. What deck did you buy just because everyone else did? So here we go again. The Wild Unknown is making a reappearance. Yeah, I bought this because everybody was raving about it, and because it's a classic, modern classic nowadays. It broke ground in the tarot world, and it felt like an important deck to experience. So there we go. The number 8 on the list is, what deck is over your head or just baffles you? Now, I have a few of those, but the one I chose to go with is the Monsoon Tarot. I backed this on Kickstarter, and I don't know why or what possessed me. I thought it looked really cool and like it had something really special, and I'm sure it does, but this deck confuses me. It's so pretty, but also kind of gives me the creeps, which is another prompt that I chose another deck. It kind of gives me the willies, but it also confuses me and makes me annoyed, and I don't know. I'm sure that there are people out there who can read this, and I applaud you. I watched Logan from Larkin Legend go through this deck, and they had so many good points. I was just sitting there, oh yeah, that's really cool. But when I pick it up myself and try to read it the way they do, I just can't. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me, and I feel kind of stupid and dumb. I don't know. So it's super cool. It's super pretty. I mean, look at that. But the blob faces just does something to me. I want facial expressions in my decks quite clearly. So yeah. Or either faces on all the cards or faces on none of the cards, or blob faces on like one single card for the interpretation value. But I don't know. I've complained enough about this deck and its blob faces now, so I think that's that. Monsoon Tarot is way over my head at the moment. Maybe I will grow as a person and become better at interpreting it. I don't know, but there it is. Okay, number 9. What deck surprised you? Well, to be honest, all my decks kind of surprise me. This is such a difficult tag, but I have managed to take it down to 2. So the first one I'm going to show you is Trionfi della Luna, illustrated paper edition by Patrick Valenza. And this deck surprised me because I really didn't think that I was going to get along with Patrick's artwork, because I was so dead set against getting the Deviant Moon Tarot. It just gave me the heebie-jeebies and all the things. And then I saw this and I thought, you know what? This one intrigues me, so I got it. I am so glad I did. I love this deck so much. It surprised me in that sense that it surprised me. I surprised myself that I liked it, and it surprised me that it wooed me, to be honest, or won me over. I adore these characters, and through this deck, I have found an appreciation and love for the Deviant Moon tarot as well. That deck doesn't feel creepy to me anymore, which is weird, but I adore this deck so much. It is amazing. And now I love all of Patrick Valence's artwork and his decks. This and the Deviant Moon are the only ones I've got at the moment, though, because it's rather expensive to buy from the US for me. But yeah, this deck, super gorgeous, love it to bits, and reads like a dream. So that's the Triomphe de la Luna. And the next deck that surprised me, that I had to include, is the Dreams of Gaia. I did not think that we were going to get along at all. I always felt drawn to the artwork, but felt scared about the differing system and everything. But when it then came up really cheap on a Facebook secondhand tarot site or page, I just thought, oh, what the heck, free shipping, 12 euros. I mean, what could go wrong? So I took a chance, bought it, and it was love at first touch and sight, you guys. It keeps surprising me with its really in-depth readings. I've barely even touched the guidebook, but the intuitive messages that comes through this deck for me is just beyond. I'm just yeah, it has surprised me so much in how this deck reads, to be honest, and how I feel when I read with this deck. It's quite honestly bizarre to me. Like, I feel connected to a lot of my decks, but this one does something very, very magical. So yeah, unfortunately it's got a bit of damage. The previous owner had put pieces of stickers on it and written on it, so you can see indents from what they've written from before, and when they've tried to peel the stickers off, and yeah, so it's not in the best shape, but I trimmed it and I edged it in black, and that made it feel a little bit less used. So yeah, but that's the Dreams of Gaia tarot, and that deck truly properly surprised me. All right, number 10. What deck doesn't really work for you, but you keep it because it's a collectible? Again, I don't think I have such a deck. I'm super bad at this. Because I have aspirations to work with all of my decks. But I suppose the one deck I could show you in this prompt, even though it doesn't really, I don't really agree. That's the Majestic Earth. I do connect with this deck, but I got it because it's a collectible and because it was offered to me as a trade. And I think that's the closest we're gonna get. I do connect with this deck though, so I keep it for that sake as well. But I also think that I keep it partly because it's a collectible, because it's not the deck I connect with the absolute most. I probably, if this was a mass market deck, I probably could let it go because I would know that it's possible to get it back if I change my mind. You know, it's not a deck I read with a lot, but I do love the deck. So, so yeah, I suppose that's the closest we're gonna get on this prompt. It's a collectible and I have it and I love it, but I keep it for lots of different reasons. So I'm sorry, I didn't really do this very well. All right, so that was the Majestic Earth Tarot. Okay. Number 11. What deck is your favorite Gilded deck? Now, I just showed you the Majestic Earth Tarot, and that one is definitely one of my favorite Gilded decks. I mean, disclaimer, I absolutely despise that kind of golden, hard gilded edge. I really don't like it. It just starts looking bad after using it for a while because it chips off and it looks horrendous and it's harsh and sharp on your hands, making me not wanting to shuffle it. And a deck that I can't shuffle is not much use to me. So, yeah, I suppose that the only deck I would not de-gild with that sharp, shiny gilding is the Majestic Earth Tarot. So instead, I'm going to show you this one. And I don't know if this is cheating, but this is my Gentle Tarot. And this gilding, however, I love because it is matte. It is on the cards as part of it. It's not like this sticky, plasticky, like shiny gilding that makes the card stick together or anything like that. It's this matte gilded perfection, and this is the kind of gilding that I love. So the Gentle Tarot by Mari in the Sky, gorgeous deck. I also have it in the linen edition, which I use more than I use this one because it's smaller and it's easier to shuffle. But if a deck has gilding, this is the way to go. In my opinion, it's usable, it's durable, it's pretty, and it doesn't hurt your hands. It just feels like part of the card. So most of the decks that come with that shiny, harsh gilding, I trim off the gilding because I just can't. So, but yeah, this deck, gorgeous deck, gorgeous gilding, love it to bits, and yeah, this is the gilding that I love on any deck, to be honest. This is the kind of gilding that I can get behind. All right. Next prompt is prompt number 12. Which deck do you love but hate the cardstock? Ooh, we have opinions and we have several of them. The first one I'm going to show you is the Tarot of Strange Antlers, but yes, this deck I have trimmed and it's still difficult to use. I have trimmed it and I have edged it in green, and it's this deck, love it to bits. It's gorgeous. It's so pretty. It reads so well. Even if I can't read the guidebook because it's in French, it still just gives me all the right vibes, and I adore this deck so much. If you can't tell, I'm super excited about this deck. Just holding it and seeing the artwork, you know, even if I hate the cardstock, I use the heck out of this deck. It's just it's so good. It's so good. But if this deck had thinner cardstock and more flexible cardstock, you know, it would be a dream. It would be an absolute dream. If it was just, you know, regular tarot size, first of all, smaller. Look how thick it is. Look how thick it is. like I can't even, like now at least, because I've trimmed it, I can actually hold it. But trying to shuffle this deck, my goodness. Am I even going to attempt this on camera? It's such a stretch for my little hands, and you cannot bend these cards. Like, it's just not possible. So I am stuck with hand over hand shuffling this deck. And now because I've trimmed it, I can actually do it. So it's possible and it doesn't hurt my hands. But I had to trim it for it to work, right? And yeah, it's not the absolute worst, because the absolute worst is coming up. But yeah, before I trimmed it, it was the absolute worst, because it was also sticking together. The mattness of the lamination of the cards were really like making the cards stick together. So yeah, the Tarot of Strange Antlers has bad cardstock, in my opinion. Then we have the infamous Witch's Wisdom or Tarot, that I simply have not gotten to use or gotten to know at all, because I cannot handle this deck. It's so thick, it hurts my hands. It has this bow because the cards are so thick. It's just like sitting here wobbling about on my desk, and the artwork is so gorgeous. The artwork is so gorgeous, and I want it. I wanted it so badly, and I was going to trim it, and then somebody told me, "Hey, hang on a minute before you go and trim this deck. This deck is being re-released, or there's a new version coming out in a smaller size, in tarot size and thinner cardstock." And I was like, yay! Can't wait to finally get to know and start using this deck, to be honest. That will be such a treat when this deck comes out with a new cardstock. And I think it's later on this year. This card is everything. I want this on my wall. So yeah, I'm not trimming this because apparently this is going to be some kind of special limited edition, which I'm sure it wasn't intended to in the beginning. But they've decided to name it that now, like some kind of deluxe edition. But it's, you know, weird that they release a deluxe edition, and then when everybody explains, they release their deck, right? Then everybody complains about the cardstock, and they decide to call it a deluxe edition with the bag and everything. And then they're releasing, you know, I'm so happy that they're listening to us and that they are taking us seriously, that, you know, we love the deck, but we can't use it because it's so gosh darn big. You know? Anyway, that was the Witch's Wisdom Tarot, and I'm excited that it's coming out in different cardstock, because I hate this cardstock. I hate it. All right, the next deck, the next prompt, is what deck gives you the willies? Well, this one was also a bit difficult because I couldn't really say other than the Monsoon Tarot, which gave me the willies. But then I remembered the Shimmering Veil Tarot. The Shimmering Veil Tarot definitely gives me the willies. Oh my goodness. But like willies as in a serious willies. Like serious, serious way gives me the willies. Like not the willies as in, ooh, this is creepy, I'm creeped out. More like, oh, this is serious and harsh and scary. Like, it gives me the willies. Like, even the regular happy cards can give me the willies in this deck. It's like, it feels like this artwork is just so, it's so scrumptious, so deep, so dark and primal, and it just gives me the willies. All of the cards almost give me the willies. I don't know, it just feels like it's got some kind of special energy to it, and yeah, it just, I mean, do you see what I mean? It's yeah, it's a very, very powerful imagery in this deck. Kind of dreamlike, nightmarish sometimes, and super emotional, and what's the word I want to use here? Like gritty, and like, I don't know, there's just this very specific feeling I get in my chest when I watch these, and the pit of my stomach when I watch these images, and oh, willies. Just willies. So yeah, this deck gives me the absolute heebie-jeebies willies. All right, so that's that. Right, next prompt is, I keep losing my place on the list because it's so long. The next one is prompt number 14. What's your favorite deck for shadow work? Well, at the very, I mean, I use all of my decks, to be honest, for shadow work. I don't have a specific shadow work practice. It just feels like it comes naturally when I do a reading, the way I use the deck, or any deck. The way I use cards at all is kind of shadow worky from the beginning. So I tend to use it for, like, all of my decks for shadow work. But the deck that I have been using the most for very important and deep readings lately that have been shadowy as well, I've already shown it, and it's the Dreams of Gaia. So I'm not going to show much of it again. It's just so you can enjoy the pretty pictures for a little bit longer. So yeah, this deck has, like I said, been super intense with me, and very, very shadowy, as well as very, very comforting, and helping me grow as a person and realize things about myself. So yeah, Dreams of Gaia for the shadow work deck. Number 15. What deck do you love in theory but not in practice? Alright, so the only deck that I could think of for this prompt is Tarot del Fuego. I absolutely adore this artwork. I think it's pretty, I think it's exciting, I think it's funny and cool, and it just excites me. And the size of it is absolute perfection. I love this size in a card deck. But in practice, I can't read with it. And I've mentioned this on my channel before, I think. It's all the flames and all the eyes. I know it's called Tarot del Fuego, tarot of fire. But there's just too much fire, guys. There's too much fire. There's too much ice. There's ice everywhere, fire everywhere. And I simply can't read with this deck. I don't know what it is. I just get so confused because I read in a very elemental way, I think. So when I see fire in every card, it really puts me, it just really throws me off. And all the eyes as well, like eyes are very symbolic to me. So if there's an eye in a card, an extra eye on the people, eyes on the things, you know, eyes, 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 I get so confused. And I know, yeah, all right, Sandi, you've said it. Just, you know, ignore the fire and the ice. But I'm not quite there yet. I can't. I'm just, when I focus a lot on details, I suppose, when I read a tarot card. I look at the details and see what it says to me, you know. So if a very, very detailed deck has lots of really symbolic details, it's going to confuse me. Like this hill has an eye, a huge eye. Then all of these dragons have lots of eyes. And then I'm like, and then there's fire. And then and I'm like, I can't, I mean, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Like, look at this Queen of Pentacles. It's so pretty, but it's the Queen of Pentacles and she's underwater. Like what? It confuses me, and yeah. So pretty. Keep wanting to flip cards and look at it, but yeah. I suppose this could have also gone in the other prompts of what deck is over my head, or also what deck I'm keeping for the art. Now I'm realizing. Although I have been considering getting rid of, or like trading this deck, because I just can't use it. But maybe one day I will say, yes, Sandi, you can. And then I will just do it and it will be glorious. I don't know. Struggles with the tuck box. Who is with me? Yeah, there we go. Finally. Alrighty then. The next prompt is number 16. What deck would you never use to read for someone else? Well, all of them. I don't really read for other people. I've read for maybe 2 or 3 people ever in my life. It's not something that I do. Yeah, I don't really have any inclination or urge to read for others either. I use tarot as a self-exploration tool, and to enjoy all of this fantastic artwork. So yeah, I don't really read for others. That might change, so I'm not gonna say never, but at the moment I don't have any decks like that because I don't really read for others. If, however, I was, if I were to just imagine that I am a person who reads for others, which of the decks in my collection would I not reach for to read for anyone else? And the one deck that I came up with is the Nicoletta Ciccoli, because when I look at this artwork, it feels super personal. It feels like, oopsie daisy, there that went. It feels like when I'm looking at this artwork, it feels deeply vulnerable and personal to me. And it feels like this deck and the messages it has for me personally would be so strong that I couldn't pick out the messages for anybody else, if you understand what I mean by that. It feels like when I'm looking at this deck, it's like I get almost weepy and like sad, but also like I'm accessing some kind of really deep emotional memories and yeah, childhood trauma type thing. So I don't think that I could ever use this for anybody else but myself. I got a reading from Lisa Pepes with this deck, and it was profound. And I really wish that I could do what she does and read for people like that. But I don't think that I could do that with this deck. Or any other deck, to be honest. Lisa is an amazing reader. Her ability to do these 5-hour marathons on her membership channel is just, it amazes me. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, that was the Nicoletta Ciccoli, and I don't think I could read with anybody else with this deck. Okay, number 17. What deck would you never use for yourself? None. I don't have any decks that I don't use for myself because I don't read for others. So I use all of my decks for myself, and that's the way that it was intended. If I were to be cheeky, I would say I wouldn't read for myself with any decks that I choose not to bring into my collection. So yeah. Number 18. What deck could you not bring yourself to buy? All right, I could not remember a specific deck here. There are several, and the only reason why I couldn't bring myself to buy it was the price. You know, and I suppose there is one deck that I will mention that could have gone in this category, and that's the last prompt, which we will get to in a moment. So the decks I could not bring myself to buy have simply been too expensive. I have a loose rule or a loose limit of about €100 for any deck. Mass market or out of print or indie. I wouldn't buy a mass market deck for €100 unless it was out of print and very, very rare. But like it's €100 can seem pretty low, but at the same time it is pieces of paper that we're talking about. Yes, it's artwork, but if it's, I don't know, it's like there is just something. €100 is a lot of money to me. I have gone over that limit if it's been like, it's a loose rule. 150, like with shipping and taxes and all of that included, is not unheard of. But for the deck itself, without the shipping and anything, 100, around about 100, 120 is my limit. Unless it's a deck that I'm desperate for, I would not even consider getting or going over that. Have I though? Yes, I have, but then that's been a very special occasion. All right. 19. What's your favorite pip deck? Now, I am not a pip deck kind of person, or so I thought. I have not really thought that I could read with pips. The one deck I'm going to show you, though, is kind of pippish. And, just to be fully with cards on the table here, I have ordered a Marseille deck, and I'm planning to order a second one. So, but because I don't have any of them here now, I can't show you them. So my favorite pip deck at the moment is the only pip deck, kind of pip deck that I have, I suppose. And that's the Anima Mundi Tarot. Now, it's got kind of scenes in it. But it's also kind of pippish. I was struggling to choose between this one and the Walking Meditation Tarot, because that one also has kind of pippish cards. But as you see here, we have like this pippish layout with the wands, but then we also have these two fighting gazelles here. And then we've got the 9 of Swords here with the 9 swords very pippishly laid out. But then we also have, the Vulture or the 3 of Cups. So, I don't know if this can be called a pip deck. But then again, we do have also these kinds of cards. The 9 of Wands. With just the wands and a bit of a mountain range here. So, yeah. Oh, this card makes me cry almost every time. Anyway. Yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous deck, and it's the most pippish one I have, I think. So, and I love it, so that's why it's my most favorite pip deck. Until probably I get my Squid Cake Marseille. Yay! All right. The number 20. Number 20 on the list is what deck slaps you with the truth? Ooh, I'm gonna be a real pain and say all of them again. But then I'm gonna still whip out a deck. So, Tarot of Curious Creatures does slap me with the truth, but in a funny way. And that's the best way. That's the best way, to be honest. I love this deck. This one could also have been in the surprise me category, because this deck surprised me so much. But yes, this deck, it slaps me with the truth, but it also makes me chuckle, and that combination makes me take the truth to me a lot better. I don't feel super called out, or I can feel called out, but in a funny way. I don't know even how to explain it. It's like it's got a very specific voice to me, this deck, and it's a good one. So it's like it tells me as it is, but in a fun, loving, and like humorous way. And I love that about this deck. The runner-up for this category would have to be the Way of the Panda Tarot, which I also have here. This deck was, suggested to me by my good friend Andy, who loves pandas, and I'm going to lift this up so you can see properly. And the guidebook for this is just so good. And the pandas are so funny and cute and cuddly. And this deck, it tells it like it is. It's not pulling any punches. But it does so with this really warm-hearted energy. And this deck just makes me think of Andy so much. And she's given me so much good advice already. And, this is my Andy in a deck, really. So I really love it so much, and it definitely slaps me with the truth. But then again, like I said in the beginning, all of my decks does that because that's what tarot does. so, so yeah, but definitely these two stand out in this category, shall I say? And it's so cute, like it's so tiny. I love this deck so much. All right, so the last prompt, number 21. What's the deck that got away? Ooh, all right. So there's several decks that I haven't gotten and that could be considered as getting away. But the deck that I found only after it, well, there's several of those as well. Now when I think about it, that there are several decks that got away that were a thing before I found them, or gotten wind of them. But the one deck that got away that I could think about is the first version of the Bird Oracle. So basically the Bird Oracle 1. This is the Bird Oracle deck 2. I bought this deck on Etsy from the creator. It's apparently was this limited edition ever, like this limited print run of the first one, and then she did a second one because she loved doing the first one so much, and by the time she did that, the first one was out of print, and she is not going to reprint it. She basically has this page on her website that says she gets emails, almost like several emails a week, asking about the first deck because so many people want it. But she's just not going to do another print run of the first deck. At least not in the way it was in the beginning. Probably then making some changes. I don't know. Either way, it breaks my little heart. It breaks it so badly because I love this deck. This deck has the most scrumptious cardstock, the most amazing bird art, a fantastic guidebook. I love everything about this little oracle. The only thing that I would add to it is a little keyword. And it says a lot about this deck that I love it so much, even without any keywords, I love it also because one of the reasons why I love it so much is because it shuffles like a gosh darn dream. I love it so much. It's such a satisfying shuffle, and honestly, I adore this artwork. So the Bird's Oracle 1 got away from me because it was out of print before I even knew about it, and I had a chance to buy it, but the person who had it and who didn't use it wanted to sell it for over 500 euros. No, sorry, Australian dollars, I think. And that was just way, way, way above my limit for a deck. Not to mention a used deck. And it broke my heart to say no, because I knew that I would probably not ever get another chance to get the Bird's Oracle 1. There's so few of them out there, and it's not getting reprinted, so that's just putting the price up as well. And I'm just gonna have to be happy with the deck that I have and not think about the first deck that I want to get, just so that I could combine them to get a big Sorry, what happened there with my voice? To combine them to make a bigger deck, you know, because they're the same cardstock, the same size, just different colors on the backs. But yeah, Bird's Oracle 1 by Jessica Blaine Smith and Mia Emily Freeman is my treasured deck that got away. And I'm so sad. But I will get over it because it's not the end of the world. I have other decks that will make me happy. So that was the 21 Tarot Questions tag by Lisa and Peggy Papez. Thank you so much for this amazing tag. It was so much fun. And oh, lo and behold, I've gone over an hour. Everybody else has managed to keep this tag to like 20 minutes. I do not know how you do it. How do you do it? I hope that you guys don't mind that I have these very long videos. Let me know if you would like me to put out some shorter ones as well. I always try. I always try to keep them short. But then again, I like to dive deep, so... Anyway, thank you so much for sticking this one out with me and for joining me in this lovely exploration of the 21 tarot questions. Please take care of yourselves and be well, my friends, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!